Life works in mysterious ways. One day you can be a cleaning lady, mocked because you are black. Then the next day you could be the CEO of the company whose employees made fun of you. Something like that happened in this story. The grand lobby of Axion Tech was spotless. Polished floors reflected the sleek modern furniture, and the faint hum of productivity echoed through the building. Every morning employees streamed in, coffee in hand, ready to dive into their work. Among them was Martha Johnson, the cleaning lady who had worked at Axion Tech for nearly 20 years. Martha's uniform, a plain blue shirt and black slacks, stood out against the suits and dresses of the employees bustling past her. She was an older woman, her hands calloused from years of hard work, but her warm smile and cheerful demeanor were her trademarks. Though many at Axion saw her as just the cleaning lady, Martha took immense pride in her work, knowing that she kept the massive office running smoothly behind the scenes. But not everyone appreciated her contributions. Some employees barely acknowledged her existence, treating her as invisible. Others, well, they were far less kind. One particular morning, Martha entered the office early, as she always did, to ensure everything was in pristine condition before the day began. She pushed her cart down the hall, humming a tune as she emptied trash bins and wiped down surfaces. As she approached the executive conference room, she heard laughter echoing from inside. "Did you see her yesterday?" a man's voice said, followed by chuckles. "Yeah," another voice chimed in. "She was scrubbing the floor right outside the CEO's office, like she'd ever set foot in there for any real reason." More laughter erupted. Martha's smile faltered, but she kept moving, pretending she hadn't heard. As she walked away, the words lingered in her mind. It wasn't the first time she'd been mocked by some of the younger, entitled employees. Still, she refused to let their words define her or ruin her day. Martha's work ethic and kindness didn't go unnoticed by everyone. Over the years, a few higher-ups had taken the time to chat with her, learning that she wasn't just a cleaning lady. She was a mother, a grandmother, and most surprisingly, a sharp observer with a keen sense of business. She often noticed things others overlooked: a client's body language in the lobby, a stressed employee needing a kind word, or even subtle inefficiencies in the office layout. One of those higher-ups was Julia, a senior executive who had joined the company a few years ago. Julia admired Martha's dedication and often sought her advice on small but meaningful matters. "Martha," Julia asked one day as she grabbed a coffee from the break room, "how do you always seem to know when someone's having a bad day?" Martha chuckled. "It's not hard, honey. People wear their emotions on their faces. You just have to pay attention." Julia nodded thoughtfully. "You know, I think you understand people better than some of the folks upstairs." Martha smiled but said nothing. She learned long ago that actions spoke louder than words. A few months later, Axion Tech was abuzz with rumors. The company's CEO, Richard Collins, had been under scrutiny for his leadership decisions. Profits were down, employee morale was sinking, and whispers of misconduct had reached the board of directors. The tension in the air was palpable, and employees speculated about who might replace him if he were ousted. Unbeknownst to most, Axion Tech had a surprise coming. One rainy afternoon, Martha was finishing up in the executive suite when she heard raised voices coming from the CEO's office. She couldn't make out the words, but the tone was heated. Moments later, Richard stormed out, his face red with anger. He brushed past Martha without a glance, slamming the door to the stairwell behind him. Curious but not wanting to pry, Martha continued her work. As she emptied the trash bin in Richard's office, her eyes fell on a crumpled piece of paper. It was a printed email, half torn, but still legible. The subject line read, "Board meeting, leadership transition." Martha's heart skipped a beat. Was the board planning to replace Richard? And if so, with whom? The next morning, the entire company was called to an all-hands meeting in the main auditorium. Employees whispered among themselves, speculating about what was happening. Martha, as usual, stood at the back of the room, unnoticed by most. Julia took the stage, her expression serious but composed. "Good morning, everyone," she began. "As many of you know, Axion Tech has faced significant challenges over the past year. After careful consideration, the board has decided to make a leadership change." Gas and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Julia continued. Effective immediately, Richard Collins is stepping down as CEO. Martha's eyes widened. She hadn't expected the decision to come so quickly. But what Julia said next shocked her even more. It is my honor to introduce our new CEO, Julia announced, a smile breaking through her serious demeanor. Martha Johnson. The room fell silent. For a moment, it seemed as though no one knew how to react. Then as Martha stepped forward, a wave of stunned whispers erupted, and all of them were saying, "Subscribe to our channel and make sure to like the video. This content is awesome." Okay, they didn't say that, but if you do it, we will really appreciate it. Now, jokes aside and back to the story. Martha walked to the stage, her heart pounding, but her posture steady. She looked out at the sea of faces, many of whom she had known for years. Some were supportive, others skeptical, and a few downright disbelieving. Taking a deep breath, she began to speak. "Thank you, Julia, and thank you to the board for this incredible opportunity. I know this may come as a surprise to many of you. After all, I've spent the last 20 years working behind the scenes, ensuring this building runs smoothly. But what some of you may not know is that I've also spent those 20 years observing, learning, and understanding this company from the ground up." She paused, letting her words sink in. Axion Tech is more than just a business. It's a community. And like any community, it thrives when we respect and support one another. I may not have worn a suit and tie, but I've been here, watching and listening. I know what works and what doesn't, and I'm ready to lead us into a better future. The room erupted into applause. Even those who had doubted her couldn't deny the sincerity and confidence in her voice. Over the following weeks, Martha's leadership proved to be exactly what Axion Tech needed. She implemented changes that improved employee morale, streamlined operations, and boosted profits. Her hands-on approach and genuine care for the staff won over even her harshest critics. One of her first initiatives was a company-wide mentorship program. "Everyone has potential," she told the employees during a meeting. "Sometimes all it takes is for someone to see it and nurture it. Let's build each other up." Her words resonated, especially with junior employees who had felt overlooked under the previous leadership. The program paired experienced workers with newcomers, fostering collaboration and innovation. Not everyone adapted to the changes easily. Richard, the former CEO, had remained at the company in a reduced role, but struggled to accept Martha's leadership. During one meeting, he interrupted her presentation, questioning her decisions. "Martha, don't you think these changes are a bit ambitious?" he said, his tone dripping with condescension. Martha didn't flinch. "Ambition is what drives progress, Richard, and progress is what this company needs." The room fell silent, and Richard reluctantly backed down. It was clear to everyone that Martha wasn't just filling a role, she was owning it. As for the employees who had mocked her, they quickly learned to respect the woman they had once dismissed as just a cleaning lady. One day, Martha encountered one of them, a young man named Alex, in the break room. He looked sheepish as she walked in. "Ms. Johnson," he began hesitantly, I owe you an apology. I wasn't kind before, and I'm sorry." Martha smiled warmly. "Thank you, Alex. Apology accepted. Let's focus on moving forward and making this company the best it can be." Her grace and humility left a lasting impression, not just on Alex, but on everyone who heard about the exchange. For Martha, the journey from the janitor's closet to the CEO's office wasn't about proving others wrong. It was about proving herself right. Martha's story became a legend within Axion Tech, a reminder that potential knows no boundaries. And as the company thrived under her leadership, those who had doubted her learned a valuable lesson. Never underestimate the power of resilience and heart.